What if I told you that one of the world's most successful billionaires, a man who built an empire of more than 400 companies, launched Virgin Airlines, revolutionized music with Virgin Records, and even took on space travel with Virgin Galactic, struggled in school, couldn't read well as a child, and dropped out at just 16 years old? It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But this isn't fiction. This is the real story of Sir Richard Branson. A story that proves your circumstances don't define your destiny, and your so-called weaknesses can become the foundation of your greatest strengths. As a young boy, Branson battled dyslexia. While others saw him as slow or incapable, he was quietly building a different kind of intelligence: creativity, vision, and resilience. Where traditional schooling boxed him in, life outside the classroom opened the door to limitless possibilities. At 16, with no diploma in hand, he took his first step into business by starting a simple student magazine. That small leap would ignite a fire that never went out. Most people would say dropping out of school was a mistake. For Branson, it was a beginning. He didn't allow society's labels to trap him. Instead, he used them as fuel to carve his own unique path. He surrounded himself with brilliant teams, delegated where he struggled, and focused on the big picture, the vision that others couldn't see. Branson's journey challenges us to rethink what success really means. It's not about perfect grades, flawless resumes, or following rules step by step. It's about courage. It's about daring to dream bigger than your limitations. And most of all, it's about acting on those dreams when others tell you they're impossible. This is Richard Branson's story, and it might just inspire you to rewrite your own. As a boy in England, Richard struggled with dyslexia. While his classmates read books with ease, he fought to understand simple words. Teachers called him lazy. One even told him he would either end up in prison or become a millionaire. School wasn't built for his mind, and at 16 he walked away, without a diploma, without a clear path, but with something far more powerful: belief in himself. Richard didn't let dyslexia or school failure stop him. Instead, he leaned into creativity, curiosity, and people skills. At 16, he launched his first venture, a magazine called Student. Soon after, he started selling records by mail order. His company grew into Virgin Records, signing legends like the Rolling Stones and the Sex Pistols. What others saw as a weakness, his dyslexia, Richard Branson transformed into one of his greatest strengths. Growing up, Branson struggled in traditional classrooms. Reading long passages or remembering spelling felt like climbing mountains barefoot. While other students thrived with textbooks and lectures, he often felt left behind. Teachers dismissed him as careless or lazy, and some believed he would never amount to anything. The label of dyslexic became a shadow that followed him everywhere. But instead of letting it define him, Branson chose to see the world differently. His dyslexia forced him to simplify, to see the big picture rather than getting lost in details. He wasn't the type to obsess over grammar or spreadsheets. Instead, he became a visionary, a dreamer, and most importantly, a leader. He learned early that if he couldn't excel in reading or writing, he could excel in delegating. Branson surrounded himself with brilliant minds, people who loved details, strategy, and execution. While they managed the finer points, he focused on building relationships, inspiring teams, and chasing big, bold ideas. His weakness had guided him toward collaboration, teamwork, and leadership. This approach is at the heart of the Virgin Empire. Branson's companies weren't built by one man working alone. They were built by groups of passionate people working under a shared vision. He often said that his role was to empower others, not to micromanage them. Dyslexia taught him humility, and it also taught him trust. From this lesson, we can draw affirmations that mirror Branson's mindset. I am not defined by labels or limitations. No diagnosis, no failure, no criticism has the final word in your life. You decide what defines you. My challenges are stepping stones to greatness. Every difficulty can become a tool, a lesson, a path toward resilience. I can build success in my own way. Success isn't a one-size-fits-all journey. Like Branson, you can create your own blueprint. I attract people who complement my strengths. You don't need to do it all. You can welcome partners, mentors, and collaborators who balance your skills. I see opportunities where others see obstacles. What looks like a dead end to someone else can be the beginning of your empire. These weren't just nice words for Richard Branson. They were the very principles guiding his life. He didn't walk around reciting affirmations like poetry, but his decisions, actions, and beliefs embodied them daily. When dyslexia told him he couldn't compete with his peers academically, Branson answered, "I am not defined by labels or limitations." When financial setbacks threatened his companies, he reminded himself, "My challenges are stepping stones to greatness." When critics laughed at his bold ideas, like starting an airline with just one leased plane, he smiled and thought, "I can build success in my own way." When he lacked the technical expertise to run every detail of his ventures, he leaned on collaboration. "I attract people who complement my strengths." And every time he faced an obstacle, from lawsuits to near bankruptcy, he reaffirmed his belief. "I see opportunities where others see obstacles." This mindset is what allowed him to take Virgin from a small record shop in London to a global brand touching music, travel, health, finance, and even outer space. His affirmations were not spoken once. They were lived repeatedly. And because he lived them, the world followed. The lesson is clear. Our so-called weaknesses can become the foundations of our greatest strengths. Dyslexia didn't close doors for Richard Branson. It opened new ones. Dropping out of school didn't end his education. It started his real-world classroom. Being misunderstood didn't break him. It made him bold. So when you think about your own life, your own obstacles, your own so-called limitations, remember this: the story isn't over. You have the same power Branson discovered. The power to rewrite the meaning of your challenges and to use them as stepping stones. From one small record shop, Virgin grew into a global empire that touched nearly every industry: airlines, telecom, finance, health, entertainment, and even space travel. What began as a simple passion for music evolved into a brand recognized worldwide. Richard Branson's boldness pushed him into territories most entrepreneurs would avoid. Branson was never afraid of risk. In fact, he embraced it. He famously said, "Business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming." To him, risk wasn't something to run from. It was something to ride. He believed that every failure was simply part of the journey, a stepping stone toward the next opportunity. And fail he did, often. His ventures weren't all victories. Some collapsed, some lost millions, and some were mocked by the media. But here's the difference. Failure never scared him. He didn't see mistakes as endings, but as lessons. Branson's mindset can be summarized through affirmations that guided his journey. "I learn from every mistake." Each failure became free education, sharpening his vision. "I am unstoppable. When I trust my vision." He knew that passion and belief were more powerful than fear. "I turn risks into rewards." Risks weren't dangers. They were opportunities in disguise. Today, Richard Branson is worth billions. But beyond the numbers, his story holds a deeper truth. Success isn't about perfection. You don't need straight A's, a flawless resume, or a risk-free plan. You don't need to follow the traditional path. What you truly need is courage. The courage to start, the belief to keep going, and the willingness to act when others hesitate. That is the real legacy of Richard Branson. Branson once said, "If somebody offers you an amazing opportunity, but you are not sure you can do it, say yes, then learn how to do it later." Richard Branson's life proves that your past doesn't define your future. Dyslexia didn't stop him. Dropping out didn't stop him. Criticism didn't stop him. And nothing can stop you unless you stop yourself. Tell me in the comments, which part of Branson's story inspired you the most? If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more powerful biographies, affirmations, and motivational scripts. And remember this motivational message: Your so-called weakness may just be your greatest strength. Your setbacks may be preparing you for your empire. Like Branson, you are not limited. You are limitless. Believe it. Affirm it. Live it.